Welcome to Everyday Economics, a podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Krug, president of the 501c3 nonprofit Franklin News Foundation. Everyday Economics is a production of America's Talking Network, and you can check out all of our great podcasts at americastalking.com. To support podcasts such as this one, please make your tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show episode. We are recording this episode on Friday, October 14th, and joining me as always is Dr. Orphe Divounguy. He's a PhD economist. Orphe, the Consumer Price Index came out not great.
Exactly, not great, because inflation actually came down from 8.3% down to 8.2% from 8.3%.
I saw the celebration in the streets.
Exactly, right? We were hoping it would come down a lot more. And here's why. Well, first, lower income families are disproportionately affected. 3/4 of their income goes to necessities. 3/4, that's a lot. Going to food and housing. Housing costs are increasing rapidly. Shelter is 6.6% costlier today than it was a year ago. Food prices have increased by 11.2%. People are being squeezed from every angle right now. I saw retail sales coming down, adjusted for inflation, coming down again, 4 consecutive months of retail sale volume contraction. Yeah, Americans are hurting. Savings are down, right? All the savings that were accumulated during the pandemic are down. They're dwindling away. And it's become a problem. We know price stability is a very important precondition to sustainable economic growth. We're seeing it right now that without prices coming down further, we're not going to be able to grow this economy.
I guess inside of these numbers, are the factors that inform people's lives or have an impact on people's lives. And from the data that was released, excluding food and energy, the core consumer price index accelerated 0.6% and 6.6% respectively. The yearly gain for core was the highest since August of 1982. That's from the CNBC story that was published, I believe, yesterday. For the average person who's navigating their way through inflation right now, what are you hearing from them? What's changing in their lives? I mean, the numbers are the numbers, but we have reached, and I'm coming back to what you said about the depletion of savings, right? So once you get the cushion, savings is in theory supposed to be your cushion, right? That's your guard against the margin. When that's gone, people's lives change. And what are you hearing from people right now about how their lives have changed and how they are changing?
It's very hard on low-income families because, the Fed is also engaged in this interest rate hikes, right, to bring down inflation. And so, like you said, when your savings are gone and you can't borrow either, what do? And that's the trouble. When you talk about core inflation, a lot of it is in services inflation. Those are sectors that are still coming back from the COVID crisis. But yeah, most people are seeing massive rent increases.
If they're signing new leases.
If you're signing a new lease, if you've had to move, you saw a massive rent increase. Now, there's good news, right? The good news is the Zillow rent index leads rent in CPI in the consumer price index. Okay. And since we're seeing that rent growth has actually decreased since about February, I expect rent in CPI to come down as well with a lag. Right, it's going to come down maybe in the next 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months.
That's great if you don't need to sign a lease for 3, 4, 5.
Exactly. So there's still a lot of pain right now. Of course, there's even more bad news, especially for the Fed, that's working hard to bring down inflation. Is that there are other forces that are acting to drag down supply, even though there's a ton of demand destruction going on right now. Right, we're seeing it everywhere. Sales volume falling. We're seeing car manufacturers talking about being in trouble because people are not buying cars anymore. Consumer spending is being squeezed. There's all factors on the supply side that are keeping upward pressure on prices, right? We're talking about geopolitical tensions, the ongoing war with China, trade war with China, the Russian-Ukraine conflict. All of these things that distort supply chains, that destroy productive infrastructure, that make global trade very uneasy. All of these factors are acting to put upward pressure on prices, and that's going to be a battle for the Fed. And I've said it on the podcast before, I'm going to say it again. The Fed can't do it alone. It needs help. It's going to need help from the fiscal authorities. It's going to need help from the White House, federal, state, and local governments, right? To come together to kind of deregulate, take a hard look at our regulatory climate, to cut spending, take a hard look at our regulatory climate to kind of bring back kind of this dynamism on the supply side. Because if we have an insufficient supply, we need a supply boost.
My big concern there, and I'm going to take the last word on this one, if you'll let me, is that we're now within 30 days, more like 20 some days from an election, a highly significant midterm election. And I don't think that we are going to get any kind of specific help occurring between now and November 8th. And I mean, I hate to sound jaded about it. I hate to be pessimistic. I hate to say out loud that politics inform virtually everything in this country, but they do. And so I do not anticipate that we're going to see any real resolution or steps to resolution, anything that would resemble the kind of measures required until after the election. And I'm going to take it away from there and say thank you. For Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other quality podcasts on americastalking.com.